Hello and welcome to my channel. A couple of years ago I was given this sample pack from the world of Deuslair. It contained 3 figures on upcoming release, although I've not followed the project so I couldn't tell whether it's been produced or not. At the back of the box you can see a sample of each figure. They each have a name: Rasher's Golem, Elder Krill and Two. And lastly we get a little bit of a write-up about the world. Right, let's finally get this thing open and see what's inside. The first thing I recognised was the typical Arkham Studios sprue. These are always densely packed and they never skimp on plastic. So we've got a little bit of a write-up, plus some character details. So it's just enough to wet the whistle of anybody interested in exploring further. In this maze of thorns you can probably make out 3 figures. So let's set them free. There are a lot of contact points with the tree, which means there could have to be a lot of clean-up. And the mini file does that job pretty well. Plastic cement works very well on these models, so there's no real reason to use any other product. The assembly instructions are online via a QR code, which is printed on the front of the box. I know this is the modern way of doing things, but since they're giving us printed material anyway, what's the harm in adding it to it? Right, I've got the first figure assembled, and this one is called the Elder Krill, and he's the highest ranked of the shamans. As a defense mechanism, he can also transform into a towering giant. That's useful. Right, I'm just assembling the second creature, and this one's called Rasher's Golem. Rashers are small, primitive creatures. They can animate dead wood to create golems, and if you look closely, you can see a few Rashers dotted about. The third and final creature is called a Tu'ur. There's a race called the Vepri, which are also known as pigfolk. They are normally quite small in size. A few do experience a mutation which causes them to grow into a very large size, and those are called Tu'ur, which in their language means strong. Despite being pictured with some pre-molded bases on the box, these actually don't come with any bases, so I've had to dig out some of my own, and since one of these guys can't stand up without any assistance, I'm going to have to remedy that. So I'll mix up some milliput and spread it all over the base. Now's a good time to add any shapes or rocks or whatever, but I'm leaving mine fairly plain. I'm just going to push in my character and let the milliput grab hold of him. I prefer this method rather than just using glue. I then spray everything with a black primer. After that I lightly apply a white dry brush, and this combination gives me my highlight and shadows. Now you can see every little detail in each model. Starting with the Rasher's Golem, I paint all the wooded areas in the appropriate colour, and then to age it up a little bit I dry brush on a light grey. Because I've been using airbrush colours which are watered down, it still retains all the shadows. There's a tiny scrap of cloth at the back which I paint in yellow ochre, and for the Rashers themselves I paint them a pale flesh colour. There's 4 of them in total, and I'm only skimming across the surface, so that way I'll keep the shadows, and then to top them off I give them a red wash, as this will make their skin a little translucent. Right, as for the base, I add on some dead grass tufts, and then I cover it all with some wet mud, and this includes painting some at the base of the tree where it splashed up as it's walking, and just for a little bit of variety I sprinkle on some dirt powder, and this is applied randomly. Right, moving on now to the Elder Krill. I've already painted his skin tone green, and that includes a wash, and now I'm painting his fabrics in a purple. There are quite a lot of spikes on this guy, so I'll paint them in an off-white. After that I coat them in a brown wash, and this will make them look aged, because let's face it, you can't really polish spikes on your back. I dry brushed on some off-white for the upper portion, and this is to make the age look more gradual. For the runes around his neck I paint them gold, and I also use gold for all the stitching, and I realised that his gauntlets were made out of wood, so I painted them the appropriate colour, as I very nearly painted them gunmetal. For the shell I used a swampy green, as I wanted to avoid using browns. I went over it again with some black panel liner, which not only dirtied it down a little bit, but also brings out all the little details. And then I chose a dark brown for a magical staff, and the wrappings were done in an off-white. I used colour shift paint for the head of the staff, and this makes it look a little bit more magical. For the base, I brushed on some PVA glue, making sure not to leave any exposed areas. And for this character, I decided to go with a simple grass basin, which is sprinkled all the way around. And then I clean up any overspill from the sides with my finger. Last but not least, we're going to start work on Deuslair. I've already painted his flesh in a piggy colour, and now I'm adding some dark brown to his clothing. For the weapon in his hand, I paint that silver. And now a large majority of this guy is armour, so I've chosen to use bronze as the base layer, and this definitely required a brand new detail brush, because the last thing I wanted was to do a load of touch-up work when I'm going over the mark. Black panel liner is great for bringing out all the details on the armour, although now it's looking a little bit too dulled down, so I dry brush on some polished bronze to sharpen up the edges. And now for the base, which I cover in PVA glue. Once again I've chosen to use a different material, this time going for sand, so I'll dip the whole base in the bag and shake it all about. And that's all 3 sample figures done. This is a Dungeons and Lasers game for the world of Deuslair, and it's manufactured by Archon Studios in Poland. So let's quickly go through the characters once again. We have Rashid Golem, Elder Krill, and Deuslair. I've since checked online, and these figures are readily available. They're in a big core set with loads of other characters. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.